This is a TalkStation original podcast.
On this week's episode of the Paperboys podcast, JJ and I talked to Curtis Strange about his Hall of Fame golf career, his time at Wake Forest, and his involvement with the Big Rock Blue Marlin tournament. It all starts right now on the Paperboys podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Paperboys podcast. I'm JJ Smith.
And I'm Zack Nally.
We're reporters with the Carteret County News-Times. We've got in studio with us today the one and only Curtis Strange. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me, guys. I think I'd think about something else other than one and only. I think some people think, thank God there's only one of them.
Well, I guess I say that, but technically there's two of you because you're a twin, right?
Yeah,
wow.
You know what? There is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We still look alike and act alike and talk every day, so it's all good.
Wow. You're that kind of twins? You're every day you're talking to each other?
Every other day.
Yeah.
We being identical, we do have a lot of the same characteristics. Obviously, we came out of got the same DNA. So, yeah, he's always been there, and I've been there for him. So it's all been good.
What was that like growing up? Was there a lot of he did it, no he did it kind of a?
Yeah, there was some of that, but I will say this: it was all good when you think about athletically. You got up in the morning, you had somebody to compete against and play with every single day of your life. And and then when I went into, got serious about golf and basketball and track, and Alan was playing baseball and football. So we went our different ways, but we all did our thing and learned from each other and just competed nonstop, fought a lot. It motivated both of us. And then on the other hand, as you went to college and older, you became each other's best friend.
No doubt. And born with a best friend. That's built right in, right?
Yeah, it was good. It's
That's
all
awesome.
good, and it's even better now.
Locally, we know Curtis with the Big Rock Blue Marlin tournament. He's been on the board of directors for 20 years or almost, right? Or more, maybe.
Yeah, probably a little more now, something like that.
And also, he did a couple things in golf. If that kind of stuff interests you, we'll talk a little bit golf. Well, I'm going to start off with something a little different here. I want a little trivia. Curtis Strange, are you aware that this state has produced one College World Series champion and only one?
No.
It would be your alma mater.
True.
And do you know what year that happened?
55 or so?
That's a year that's important to you, isn't it?
55. Well, we were, I don't remember it. I was just coming out of the womb.
I was going to say that's the year you were introduced to the world, wasn't
I didn't realize we were the only one.
You're the only one. And I find that wild that Carolina, Duke State, have had some really good teams over the years.
Yeah, for sure. And just getting over Carolina's still in it as we speak right now. And Wake just got beat in the Greenville Regional last week. And of course, Wake having a great run last year.
Right.
It's good stuff. And college baseball is fun stuff now, and filling the stands up, and people are really supporting it. It's good to see.
Also mind-blowing to me, the ACC, since your alma mater won at 55, has only won one, and that was 2015, Virginia.
Really?
That blows my mind.
That surprised me with Florida State being good in baseball over the years.
Powerhouse.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess during those years, the Southwest was so good. Texas was dominating at the time. Maybe a couple from California. So, but anyway, it's changing.
Well, I bring that up.
We had Jimmy Paler in too recently, where he said that North Carolina is really blowing up as a college baseball.
Yeah, this year I think we had about 7 teams in the top.
So you're right.
Yeah.
25 ACC.
Well, in baseball, what I found out is in Eastern North Carolina is huge in general, from Little League on up.
That's true.
And where I came from, Virginia, it was soccer was taken over, and gosh, what else?
Golf's probably big in Virginia. Isn't it?
Well, golf, but yeah. I'm saying it's more of those youth sports. It was soccer was taking over football and baseball.
Okay.
And but baseball's so big down here, and I love it because we all played Little League, and still have great memories of that.
And ECU, they'd say the atmosphere there is off the chain, the jungle they call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they love some college baseball. Well, I bring that up because similarly, this state has also only produced one NCAA men's golf champion. Of course, you know who that is.
He's in the room.
Wake Forest, that's it.
Really? I guess so.
Yeah.
Now that's surprising, but that could change any day now.
Sure.
With Carolina is certainly got a which is another story altogether. Conversation of NIL and the changing landscape of college sports for the good or bad. But Carolina right now is 1 or 2 in the country in golf. So they didn't win this year, but they're certainly going to be good in the future.
Wake Forest won in 74, 75. Those are Curtis's years. They won it again in 86. Same thing in baseball. ACC's only won one other one. That was Clemson in 2003. I find that very surprising.
Yeah, I do too.
Now, if you want me to rattle off the list of runner-ups, it's about a dozen long. ACC's come close.
And you know who remembers the runner-up though? Nobody cares except those who are runner-up. So
I bring up the golf and Wake Forest because you see this gray in my beard here. I've been in the News Times for a little while now, and I've probably written a dozen stories on Curtis because, God bless him, he gets put in a different Hall of Fame about every 6 months. But my favorite story that I've ever done was when you were put into the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame, and a lot of that was based on your time at Wake Forest because that's what you had done within the state. Yep. And that was my favorite because just the way you talk about that, the enthusiasm and what that time meant to you, you could tell how special that time was those years in Winston-Salem.
Well, I think everybody can relate to college playing sports or just being there as a student. It's more than likely the best 4 years of that individual's life. You're having fun, you're growing up, you're away from home, you're making decisions, and then it's all fun and games for the first 2 or 3 years, and then things get serious because you're getting ready to go out in the real world. And everybody's in a hurry to get out in the real world, but they don't realize stay in school. And this is where it is. Life's gonna change here in another year or so. And I think we were all the same way. I grew up some people might question if I grew up or not, but you do. And I think the last year, I only went 3 years, but my third year, the realization came up that I was going to be turning pro here in June, and I had to get serious. I had to make decisions. I mean, I had to plan. Sarah and I were getting really serious, and we eventually married in '76 at 21 and 20 years old. Wow. So, now I'm going to have another mouth to feed. And I had taken out a loan illegally back in the day, but I had taken out a loan so I could play my last year of amateur golf, and then what was left over, start my professional career. So I went into the marriage and went in to turn pro in debt. So, there was a lot on the line there. And I was feeling a lot of heat. I was really concerned about my ability because you never know. You go from college to professional golf or any sport. We go from college to professional sport, and it's the biggest jump you ever make. They don't care about you as a business. You've got to care about yourself. You and your wife are the only ones that care about you, and you have to do everything you can to perform. And so that was what's in front of me. But I still, even with that said, I enjoyed Wake Forest. I grew. I was playing against 3 of the 4 of the best players in the country every day, which was I don't think I'd be sitting here right now if I didn't go to Wake Forest. I might have, I might not, but it would have been different because I wouldn't have had the discipline that we had under Coach Haddock and the golf team at Wake.
Also, it never hurts when people are talking about you in the GOAT debate. We use that term. That term's thrown around a lot in the sports world these days, and Golf World Magazine says that's the greatest college team of all time. Well,
I remember when they did the survey, and it's been some years now. It was hard to believe, but when they looked at it and looked at the records and looked at what we did, when you're a kid in the middle of that, you don't think much about it. We expected to win every tournament. If we didn't, Coach was on our ass. But we loved it. We rooted for each other. Jay Haas, Bob Byman, and David Thor from Reidsville, and myself, and we melded together. We rooted for each other, and it was about team atmosphere in an individual sport. So we did well, and I think the main reason they voted us number one is because we still have the record for the largest winning margin in the NCAA the second year, which was the best team. We won the year before when I was a freshman, but it was exciting for us because Wake had so many good teams over the years, so many All-Americans, but never won the NCAA. Mm-hmm. And so that was the one roadblock for Coach Haddock, and we finally got it done, and we were proud of it, and we're even more proud now. And I'll tell you something else is this year is 50th anniversary, and we're going to be at the football game, and they're going to celebrate it on November 8th, I think, something like that. So we're all looking forward to it, and it'll be a great weekend for all of us.
That's awesome. And just the reverence you would talk about when Coach Haddock, when I did that story, and what he meant to y'all and what kind of a coach he was.
Well, he gave me a chance. I grew up in Virginia, and, nobody traveled a lot back then. You traveled within the state to play golf. but you didn't know how good you were. You win a state junior or whatever, and you didn't know if you can compete against Jay Haas from Illinois or Bob Byman, who was a national junior champion from Colorado, and David Thor was the best in North Carolina from Reedsville. And here I am, some guy from Virginia Beach, Virginia. And I drove in there in my little old go-to-hell Yelly Canary Nova Chevy, and all of a sudden you compete. And things worked out.
You could have used some NIL money back then, Curtis.
Wow. We all could have used NIL money back then. That laundry money, that disappeared early every month. But that's another story altogether. But we have, and because it's interesting you mentioned that, but I just don't see the loyalty that nowadays that we had back in the day. Yeah. Coach Haddock gave me a chance to compete at Wake Forest, which was the golf school on the East Coast, and compete against the best every day and grow as a golfer. And when you win, it does so much for your confidence, not only as a team but an individual. So winning breeds winning. And that meant a lot to me back in the day because, like I said, I didn't know if I could play and compete against these guys on a day-to-day basis until I went to Wake.
Well, you didn't know, and then you win the NCAA title individual as a freshman. Yeah. What did that do for you mentally, confidence-wise?
Oh, you can't put into words. I think number one, I was so happy for Coach and the team. We were still so young. I tell the story. I was doing well in the state of Virginia, and I called home after winning the NCAA that afternoon. I talked to my mom, and she cried, and she'd never cried before. So I didn't think much of it until that. I said, this must be a big deal, and. So it was exciting for all of us, and we all got cocky as hell after that. But we came back.
Do nothing with you.
No, we couldn't do anything with it. But Coach kept us in line. That's what Coach did. He kept us in line, and we kept playing. But we were there to play golf and do a little bit of studying, and so he had to get us off the golf course. We couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah. Were you enjoying the college life, those boys?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I was a Kappa Sig. I don't think Coach ever liked that. If I was a coach in today's world, I don't think I'd allow my kids to be in a fraternity, knowing what I know now. Because not only is it, it's a different world, completely different world. Yeah. And, we did stupid things, which in college you do stupid things, and hopefully you learn from them. What did I hear the phrase the other day? Something about experience, but you get experience by doing stupid things or something like that.
Failure, right?
Failure,
yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm just glad we didn't get hurt.
Right.
Physically.
Right. And you're happy there was no social media back then.
Ooh. Oh boy. Well, you're right, but you think about that social media thing, and it's when you grow up with it, you learn to deal with it.
True.
And I still don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
I used to tweet. I got off Twitter because it got so mean and ugly, and
that's a wasteland.
Yeah, it just but when you see the tour players, you see sports figures now when they make a mistake, they're immediately in damage control. I apologize. I didn't mean to say that. That's not me. Well, BS, that is you. Just apologize and move on.
Everyone becomes a PR person nowadays with that.
There's a golfer that made a comment on a putt a couple of years ago, and he came out and said, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend anybody. That's not me." Well, bullshit. It is you. Just apologize. That's what we golfers do. We cuss a little bit. Athletes cuss a little bit. We get mad at ourselves. I don't think people out there understand the competition and the competitive spirit of these professional athletes. Yeah. They're wound differently. Some of them don't do well in a social atmosphere. They're wound so differently. They compete. That's the one thing I think I miss at 69 years old. I desperately miss the competition. Something that gets my blood really going, because nothing else could do it like golf did, coming down the stretch on Sunday afternoon. And I don't care if it's fishing. I don't care if it's pickleball. I don't care if it's whatever it might be. Nothing gets my heart going like it did back in the day.
Is that why some guys just hang on as long as they possibly can?
Oh, you can't help it, I'm sure.
Well, you can't help it. In golf, you can hang on if you can play through the senior tour. Jay Haas, my roomie in Wake Forest, is 70 years old, still playing the Champions Tour.
Wow.
Well, I say the same thing. I say he's nuts, but he loves it. You just can't get enough of it.
Well,
And-
even if your play drops off a little as you age,
but
the
everybody's
environment is still.
everybody's drops off, so you're equal
there
with
you go.
everybody.
There you go.
And the next question is, why aren't you still out there? Well, the body didn't hold up as well as some others, but they just kind of got into the TV and got into other things. I enjoy my fishing, I enjoy a little bit of my hunting, so I had other things I wanted to go do because I missed out on so much when I was playing.
Well, were you also one of those guys where, like, if I can't play to my standard, what's my standard? I'm not going to do it. It's not worth it to me.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I and that's pretty much now. People ask all the time, "Do you play much golf?" And I say, "I really don't." I said, "Well, there is no end goal. I don't socially. It's fun to hang with friends a little bit, but not for 5 hours playing crappy golf. So I don't like to do that. And I still go hit balls once a week or so, something like that. But God bless these guys that hang in there. I love them. Bernhard Langer and Jay Haas and Ernie Els, who's 60, just won last week. And it's a chance because they don't do anything else. That's what we did. All of our energy was into one career, and that was to play golf. And whereas other sports, in football, it's 2.5, 3 years, you're done.
Yeah, sure.
If you're 33 years old, you're an old guy, and now what do you do? Especially if you got your pockets full of money.
Oh.
So and most of them do.
To go do something else.
But you do. But what are you going to do?
That still gives you that.
Yeah, it's just you do have the chance to get involved in other things, but the biggest motivation is financial. And if you're not financially motivated, if you have your pockets full, what are you going to do? Lay on the? You don't want to lay on the? Exactly. So you kind of dance around for the rest of your life. And I would think that would be terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys bring up about athletes hanging on for as long as they can. I just saw a great video of LeBron James from first year to last year. He's taking pictures with 8-year-olds who went to his basketball camp, and they are in the league with him. Some of them have even been there long enough to retire. There's one where he's got a video of he's taking a photo with his phone. It's a flip phone, and then now this year it's it's an iPhone, whatever. But it's fascinating to see how people can hang on as long as they.
Well, and it doesn't happen often because they're the special ones.
Sure.
I saw on Netflix last night. I saw a documentary on Mark Messier.
Oh yeah.
And the '94 Ranger.
Hockey, they play forever.
Oh. Yeah, they played
40s.
longer than you think they would.
Yeah,
they really do.
The physical nature of it.
But anyway, the greatest leader of all time of a team, the greatest captain of all time, Mark Messier in New York. And if you don't know him, go Google him. Sure. Fantastic. But the point is, they're special. They don't fall out of the tree every day. Those guys like LeBron and MJ, who I still think is, the GOAT. Oh yeah. There's no debate in my mind. But Nicholas and Tiger in our sport, and just those Tom Brady who lasted so long. Yeah. Good systems, good teams, but talented, competitive individuals.
So Curtis is on the 18th hole in the NCAA tournament his freshman year. He needs a birdie to give his team the championship. He needs an eagle to give himself the individual title. Hits that eagle.
Well, the main goal, was to. I was playing with the Florida guy, and if I tied him on the hole, the team would win by 1.
Okay. And
so that was my main goal.
Okay.
And he was a friend, Gary Koch, a friend of mine from Florida, and it worked out, and I happened to hit a really good shot on the par 5 and made a putt to make eagle, but that was not the goal. The goal was a 2-putt and win for the team, and I happened to make it and win the individual by 1. So, it just when you're young and stupid and think you can play at this point, and it was very, very exciting, and they still talk about it. It just I can't believe it. They still talk about it, and I was happy for the school.
Yeah,
it was something that it hadn't been done.
Youngest NCAA tournament winner ever at that time.
18.
I was 19. 19, yeah.
Teenager.
Yeah.
God bless.
Yeah, really.
Does that boil down to you don't know what you don't know, so you weren't too afraid?
50 years ago.
Yeah.
50 years ago. Where did it go? Wow. I mean, honestly, when you think about things like that, I'm still active and I still feel pretty good. And I see some of my friends who can't get off the couch, and I say, gosh, you got to get off the couch to
stay off the couch.
Stay off the couch, exactly. But it's I don't know. It's 50 years. I just hard to believe that, I don't like getting older. Now nobody does, but I really don't like it. I want to play again. I want to do it again, but it just doesn't work out.
Well, that 19-year-old kid, that's still in there. It's just that the body.
Oh,
is
I
not.
think so.
Yeah.
I think so. My son gets mad at me because he says I don't ever give it up, and I said, well, that's the way it is. You can't change your stripes, and I don't care what it was. Somebody asked me one time, says, "Has your son beat you yet?" Years ago when he was young, and I said, "No." When are you going to let him beat you? I said, "Do what? What do you mean let him beat me? That would diminish the whole victory for him if I didn't give it my 100%. And when he does beat me that first day, which he eventually did, then we can both have a beer together and celebrate it. He earned it."
Yeah.
You talked about finances earlier. Was that your motivation when you became a pro? Was I need to win tournaments because I need to make some money?
Well, yeah. When let's back up for a minute. The money was vastly different, and no, we were playing for good money at the time. Like I said, I turned pro and was in debt. I took out a loan for $10,000, and so I went overseas a couple of 3 or 4 weeks that summer. Sarah and I got married and traveled the world and made a couple of dollars. I finished second in Australia that August to Jack Nicklaus, the Australian Open, and won $22,000, and I was on my way from there because I'd paid off the debt, and Sarah and I had a couple of dollars in the bank. But my first, and that was 76, and I didn't win a tournament on tour until 79, and it was a $150,000 purse, so I made $27,000. That was number one. I made $27,000, and that was good stuff. Now there was a few tournaments more than that. They got up to 300, but my tournament first one was $150,000 total purse, and that was good. That's the way it was.
What was that like? That first big check they handed you there?
It was never about the money. Although when you didn't have anything, it still motivates you to pay the bills. But it wasn't, it wasn't the check. It was a chance to.
That you're
that's what it is.
Here.
Yeah, it wasn't money. It was that I finally accomplished a goal that you're never quite sure you can until you do it. And you're playing against the best every day. And like I said, when you go out there, there's no patting on the back at all. These veterans want to chew you up and spit you out. And trust me, they're most of them are dear friends to this day. But you're taking food off their table too. And so you go out there, but it's the old adage in golf: you're not playing against individuals, you're playing against a golf course and yourself. I put a score on the board. I'm not receiving a serve in tennis from this guy or playing against him in football or baseball. So it was exciting. It was, but as high as some of the highs are, the lows are just as low. But that's the motivating factor. Either is that, you feel like sometimes you're done, and you have to get up the next morning and put your boots back on and get back after it. To
put this money you're making in perspective, how did you grow up? Was it pretty middle class or?
My dad was a PGA professional, and yeah, I mean it's just, but nobody made any money back then. Nobody thought the way he thought about it, I guess. But he was a pro, and that's how I got my access into golf. And he died when I was 14 years old. So then when that happened, we didn't have a whole lot after that. My grandparents got involved a little bit, I suspect, but Mom went back to work, and then Alan and I were never at home. We were in sports. But back then, remember, public schools and sports, and they didn't cost you anything basically to stay busy.
Yeah. We
survived, and we did well, and Alan got a scholarship to East Tennessee State. I got a scholarship to Wake Forest. My younger sister Ann, she went to school. Like I said, we didn't travel a whole lot, but just we were good. Like any kid, you were good.
Curtis, talk about money and thinking about how different it was then compared to now. Curtis, in 1988, becomes the first golfer to make $1 million in a year on the tour.
Oh wow!
Now, $1 million is a lot of money even still today, but you look at that number one, compared to the LIV stuff now.
Well, it's changed, and but in our generation, when I won $27,000 in my first tournament win in '79, Sam Snead never made anything near that. So it's all generational. But I never thought in my wildest imagination that we would have these type of purses out there. But in my day, starting out, corporate America hadn't embraced the tour at the time, much or any sport. When you think about it,
like major sponsorships,
major
like
AT&T, football stadium in Dallas. None of that existed.
Yeah.
None of that existed. Each community raised the purse for the tournament. It was a community effort.
Wow.
And now you have, AT&T Pebble Beach. You have, it just every term is sponsored, and that's why the purses have gone through the roof as well as TV money. And we serve as a great demographic for a lot of the sponsors. Our image is good. The guys, on the most part, behave. And
Scotty Scheffler notwithstanding.
Oh God, what a cluster. What a cluster. But we've had our bad boys, but bad boys are good too.
They sell.
They put eyeballs
They
on
sell.
The
They
screen.
put eyeballs on the screen. I paid my fines to the tour plenty of times.
Sure. Everybody loved John Daly, right?
I asked the commissioner back in the day, Tim Finch, when he just took over, and I got fined again for saying some dirty word, and I said, Tim, can I write this off because it's going back to the tour? He looked at me like I had 3 hits. I said, can we start a scholarship fund from my fines to the tour? I just said that, and you know what really pisses me off is that I got fined for saying words on the golf course that they say on TV,
nowadays.
on net,
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
TV,
Regular TV.
radios.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
You said it took you a couple years before you won your tournament, but with 79 you win the first one, and then you're pretty much winning one every year. You started making money, you're winning tournaments, and then does the goal become, I want that major?
You don't put your head on the pillow every night and think about things like that. The main goal every night when I went to bed is, how did I play that day, and how can we do a little better the next day? And it was simple as that. I tried not to ever get ahead of myself. I felt like reality was a big thing to me, being a realist, being honest with myself. And as I mentioned to my brother earlier, he's the guy I talk to every Sunday night and Monday morning in my life after tournaments, because he'd see on TV, or even if we didn't, we'd talk it out, and he was the only guy that I trusted to give me an honest opinion on what the hell was going on, because not everybody else is going to. Even your wife, she's going to be biased. So he would, and he'd cut me up when I needed to be cut up, and 80, I had a really good year. I finished third on the money list there, and that was when things started to roll. Okay. I won twice, still really young, became accepted, playing with good players every Thursday and Friday, and it just, you get to be – was I a different player? No. It's just your confidence is incredible. And what that does to your golf game and ability to hit shots under pressure, it's a great feeling. You don't do it often. You fail a lot of times, but at least you have the guts to do it now, and to try it. And I always wanted to try something that down deep. I said, I can hit this shot, and I don't think anybody else has the guts to try this thing. So things like that go through your mind that if you verbalized it, they think you're an arrogant, cocky son of a gun. But it's just things you get on the golf course, because it's you, and that's it. There's no coach pumping you up. We didn't have sports psychologists in the day. We didn't have trainers. We didn't have dietitians. I knew I ran every day, but I knew how to stay in shape. I knew what to put in my body. I knew how to work out a little bit when we finally got some trailers on tour. So this new age staying in shape is such a crock, because I think they do too much for golfers. They lift too many weights, and they eventually injure themselves. But we did all of that in the day. It just wasn't so publicized. But things started to roll, and then I had 81 and 82 was I played really, really well, but I just didn't win. And then I think 83 or 4 I started to move on again. So
beat your teammate in the Greater Hartford Open in '83. How'd that feel? Old Jay Haas, number 2.
It just, you don't think about it. You get to where it's another world. And I will say this: when I played with him 2 or 3 times in big tournaments and competed against him, and it was a terrible pairing. I hated doing it because I cared too much about this guy.
Absolutely.
So, it really was hard. We went head-to-head at the Masters one year. Neither one of us won, but it was on Sunday we went off the last hole, and I said, I'm not comfortable here at all. Right. And and I never asked him about it, but it's just, if you're not playing well, you end up rooting for him, and I don't want to root for him. I want to root for me. But things like that happen. You had guys you really enjoyed playing with, and you had guys that you played with, you didn't go to dinner with, but you still played and competed against.
The Canadian Open in '85, you win. Number 2 is Jack Nicklaus. What's it like when you grow up your whole life playing golf, and then the guy that finishes behind you is Jack Nicklaus at a tournament?
To back up just for a moment, earlier in '85 in April, I'd lost the Masters, which I should have won. So it was
you were the leader midway through the
yeah, I was
final
leader
round?
going into 9 holes to go out of the lead. So I lost that, and it's the one nightmare I still have. Not nightmare, but thought on what could have been. But to play against Jack, and Jack was very good to me after that. So to play against him, I was comfortable with him, believe it or not, because Jack was an intimidating person, and he knew he was an intimidating person, much like Tiger. It was Greg Norman and Jack and I in the last group, and of course I was the guy, the third man out between Greg and Jack. Everybody's rooting for them, and you get on the first tee and say, there's no reason why I can't do this, to yourself. If you say it out loud, everybody look at you like you're crazy.
You had finished second to him at the Australian Open, right?
Yeah. And so, I'd been around him a lot, and I played well that day and won. And it was a relief to not only beat those two guys and to beat Jack head to head at the Canadian Open and National Championship, but it was also a relief because I'd just lost, a big tournament in April, and to get back in the heat of a battle and then come out on top, it erased some of that negative memory that I had back in April.
You finished in the top 5 at a major 4 times before you win the U.S. Open. Was that encouraging that I can compete on this level, or was it discouraging that I didn't win? I was that close.
Yeah, good question. It was all encouraging. Okay. I had 2 outside chances to win the U.S. Open before I won in '88. Realistically, maybe not, but I thought I did. So, but just to be there and to feel how of a different stage that was than a regular tournament, how big it was. The history, traditions of all these golf courses, much like the Masters, and the best fields in the world, a difficult golf course. And so all of that, every time you get into the playoffs, so to speak, for other sports, every time you get in the last couple of groups on a Sunday at a golf tournament, every time you get nervous, it's a good thing because you're learning from it. The body reacts, how you react, how you think. And the more you get there, the more comfortable you're going to get. And I got to eventually to where I really felt like, this wasn't – Thursdays and Fridays got tough because it wasn't that real anxiety or nervousness. It was Saturday and Sunday, and I got to where, that was a big part of me being able to motivate myself and play. I really enjoyed it.
I still think about to this day, though, coming that paper thin close to getting that green jacket.
Yeah, I do. I think about it. It bothered me for a while. And it bothered me that I didn't win the Masters. But at that point, I thought I'd have a few other opportunities. Mm-hmm. What really bothered me at the time, right in real time, was that I had a big lead and I lost. And I hadn't done my job, and I didn't perform on this stage, and I really did get nervous. And it was the first time I'd ever been on that stage. And I thought to myself, I knew down deep that I had to learn, I had to get better. Yeah. By getting better, you get in that situation again and again and again, and you get more comfortable. But I was out of my league that first year in '85 at the Masters. I lost control, kind of. You wouldn't have thought so, but mentally I said, I didn't perform well when I should have.
Zach and I have been doing this about a year, and we have a theme, right? What athletes remember.
It's not the best moments. It's the one that got away. Yeah. You ask any athlete, what's the most poignant memory of your time playing? And it's not I won this or I did this. It's the one that they got away. It definitely does feel like that.
You're right.
But I'm curious if when you look at your memory between, say, something like that in '85 versus in '89 when you defend the Open title. I've read stories about you walking up that hill at Oak Hill in '89 and the reception waiting for you there. There's got to be a handful of really powerful memories from your time in your career.
Yeah, but you're so right, and maybe that's where the sports psychologists come in
sure.
and help you, is that you don't beat up yourself for years and years and years. And I don't beat myself up, but when do you learn anything? When you fail, when you gain this experience. by being under the gun in the heat of the battle. And you're not going to perform every single time. Nobody's ever done that in any sport because you're playing against all Americans. You're playing against all pros. You're playing against the best in the world every day. And so you do, when you have a chance to win a big tournament like that and you don't perform, you do remember it, but you learn from it. What do I learn? I learned a lot of things. The next time, you hope to do a little better. Next time, I didn't win. And then I came close in the Opens. And then the press started talking about, well, you're the best player not to win a major, things like that they do. And I never thought of it like that.
You're right. Going into '88, I'm looking at articles that mentioned about your place in the game and where it was without the major and this and that, and then of course in '88.
Well, the press is, God love them.
We're trying to find stories, Chris.
Yeah,
we're looking for a story.
You got it, baby. You got it, and you scratch the bottom a lot too. But you're right. You're trying to get the angle, and in some ways that's the same with TV.
Sure.
But from a player's perspective, you don't allow yourself to think like that.
Yeah, you can't.
And nor do you think like that. I never put my head on the pillow ever and say, boy, I haven't won a major yet. You just keep plugging along.
Or thinking, where am I ranked among what's
Oh, my God,
yeah,
no. And I have never done any of that in my life.
You're probably more comparing yourself to yourself.
Exactly. And, you are in golf ranked every week by, well, now it's FedEx punts, but by the money list back in the day. And it used to irritate the hell out of me is that, if I won the money list in '85, then I started all even January 1st of next year. No, that's not fair. But you have to. But you're getting back on your failures. You do remember because you just don't want to do it again.
Sure.
And it hurts.
That's the motivation.
That is the motivation. I came home from that Sunday we had just had our second little boy the Wednesday before, so I came home that Monday about noon, and Sarah wasn't there, and we hit the floor and cried. But then the next day you get up, I was on the practice tape. You got to do it. Got to do it.
Machine, don't you?
Well, you do it so you don't want to think about it. And what am I going to sit on the couch and watch Oprah and think about screwed up over there on yesterday and what it would be like to all the above. No, you never go there. But when you do finally do that, it's almost like, well, damn it, this is what I set out to do. This is a big deal, but let's move on.
Win or loss, right? You have to move on.
You move on. And so when I won the Open in '88, it was exciting and it was emotional and it was a cool thing. And my brother was there on the playoff. He came up, never done that before in his life, and he got talked into going up. And he had got to walk in the ropes the last 9 holes. So Sarah and I went back to our Holiday Inn or whatever it was that night. We got back there about 10:30 or 11 after press and this and that and the other. And we had a hamburger and about 2 beers, and that was it. It was Sarah, myself, and my agent. And he went to bed. What do you do? Think about it.
Sure.
What do you do? What do you do? So you get up the next morning, and hell, we had to fly to France for the French Open. So you keep moving. You keep moving until when you finally come home, you have a little bit of celebration.
Sure, you can take some time to let it hit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. A little bit.
So in 1990, you're 35. You won back-to-back U.S. Opens. It's you and Ben Hogan at that point. Who's
first time defending in 30 years.
World War II. I mean, two guys.
And these are things that other famous golfers have not done. I think up until now.
See, that's what I always said is that people blow up the back-to-back, and I said it's not what I did. It's what I'm so surprised that others didn't do.
Sure.
Trevino was the best U.S. Open player. Jack Nicklaus, Tom Watson, Arnold Palmer. Just go down the list of great players. Gary Player, and I happened to be there, and I was surprised. It's funny. I in '89 when I shot 64 in the second round and took the lead. Well, nobody even knew who the last guy was to win the back-to-back. And then the headlines were the next day, strange leads, the last guy was Ben Hogan. Well, I didn't have a clue. Nor did I really care. I was worrying about 1989. And then when I didn't play a good third round, I was 3 back of Tom Kite. Nobody mentioned Ben Hogan at all in Sunday morning's paper. See, it's the press again. The press.
About that narrative.
They were pissed that I didn't lead and bring up Ben Hogan again.
Yeah, they wanted that narrative.
But then you delivered it there at the end.
For the press, they liked it.
And what's the line? What's the line you said? Move over Ben.
Yeah. Well, some people were critical of that, and it was out of respect. My gosh, it was emotional. It was you don't know what to say. Bob Rosberg, my dear friend, was the interviewer on the 18th green, and that's what you do. It's beyond words, the exhilaration of doing something like that.
And I want to point out that since the only person that's done it is
Brooks Koepka.
Yeah. That's it.
And you were right there.
And I was right there as an on-course reporter for Fox.
How about that?
I thought I got emotional at the end of the day. He didn't. I got emotional because the press came to me. I interviewed him at the 18th green after he won, and they started coming to me and said, "What is it like?" I said, I got to tell you, this is exciting thing as I've done in a long time. Being an on-course reporter, doing TV is exciting, and it's exhilarating at times because you have all this preparation and you only use about 5 or 10% of it, but you got to be ready for the moment. That moment presents itself. You got to be ready, or you're going to screw it up. Now, the general public might not know that, but you just want to be ready. And I was ready with Brooks. It was a good day for all of us.
That was a move over Curtis day there. Huh?
You know what? A good friend of mine. Doug Ferguson, who's still currently the AP writer for golf every week out there. He's the one that asked me in the press room. I don't know. It was a couple of weeks after that. He says, "Well, did Brooks said move over Curtis to you?" I said, "Go to hell." That's the silliest thing I've ever heard.
But truly, it's such a rare feat, and like I said, that East course that last day was flooded.
We had a lot of rain. We had a lot of rain all week. Yeah, we didn't delay, but we'd had a lot of rain during the week, and it just got to where it was saturated. But hey, it's a game played outdoors, and you got to go get it done. And this is not the time to complain and moan about conditions. You're playing Sunday of the U.S. Open. Everybody's got to play the same golf course, so you don't think much about that at the time. Now, if it was at Quad Cities or Milwaukee, and no disrespect to them, but another tournament, if it was pissing down rain and flooded everywhere, you say, I don't want to go out there and ruin my shoes, whatever. Sure. But it's the U.S. Open, so you get on with it.
You've been pretty honest about it. You were like, mid-30s, you've had this amazing run, and you said you would have played forever. You said, unfortunately, your game didn't cooperate.
Well, I had an option, and when you have an option, TV was coming, and they had talked, and it got me thinking, and I wasn't playing well. It doesn't mean I couldn't have turned this around at 43 years old and played decent golf to 50 or to 45 or 6 or 7. I'm not going to be presumptuous to say I would have played well, but I would have stayed at it and beat balls and hung around. But now TV comes around at 41. I turned it down. At 42, Sarah and I thought long and hard because the analyst job at 3 networks don't come up very often. Mm-hmm. And it was a heck of an opportunity. And they allowed me to play the tournaments in which I did the TV. So that was a bonus. So I said, let's try it. Let's go.
What was you were doing both at the same time for a while, right?
Yeah. For 8 years. If I wanted to play, if ABC was doing, the tournament this week, if I wanted to play, they let me play, and then I just go to the booth when I finished. But in actuality, and I knew this subconsciously, that when you go to the booth, you're no longer a player like you.
I was like, what's that like of having to go back and forth from just being?
You don't play as well.
Okay.
So it was a catch-22. It was like. It was when I didn't play as well because I was doing TV and working 18 weeks a year. I blamed it on my play. That's a good decision. Well, my play got poor because I was doing that as well. So it kind of was a vicious.
It gave priority a little
you
bit.
got it, and TV was getting priority because it was new, it was exciting. I came in with Mike Tirico. We had a good team. We were doing a lot. ABC was doing 18 weeks a year. The British Open, we were doing big tournaments, so it was good.
And so what a great opportunity to stay around the game that you've been around for
well,
so
and
long.
that was part of the big decision, was that to stay in the game. And this, if I do a good job, and to stay in the game for a long, long time. which now it's been 26 years.
95 you started, I think, in TV.
In 95 actually it was not. No, well, in 95 I did, but not officially until 97. I was under contract with ABC to do 3 events, but in 97 is when I went head first into 18 events and played, and now it's how many years
That
is
looks
that?
like a really good decision in retrospect.
No doubt.
Well, yeah, I think so, and it's been good. It's kept me right in the middle of the game with friends and colleagues, and learned an incredible amount through TV. It's made me better speaker, thinker, all of the above. Let's look what you've done. You've done a little research here. I mean, you do that. When I just did the PGA here 3 weeks ago, it was a week of research. And thinking about what I might do with all these individuals. See, I'm a little bit removed from the current players now. As much as I golf, I try to watch on TV strictly for my 2 weeks of TV now. I stay involved because of that. But I haven't seen them play too much. I haven't been out there and talked to them. So I'm being removed. And so it won't be long before I don't do this anymore, just for my own sake. Somebody else can do a better job. That's the way I look at it. The industry is amazing. And to be able to do U.S. Opens and Open Championships over in Britain and PGAs, and to see the Koepkas of the world, Fox for 3 years, to see the Koepkas of the world perform up close and personal, and to be able to chronicle that, it's been exciting. It really is exciting.
What was it harder than you thought, television?
Oh, it's always harder than you think.
Yeah.
I went up there first in 97 with locker room lingo. And my producer at the time said, "Hey, we don't want to change." I said, there's got to be some classes I can go to
get that out of it. Yeah.
To just be better. And they are classes. No, we don't want you to lose your spontaneity and your personality. And I said, well, that's some people don't like that, So I need to get better. No. And so I did that for 8 years, and I never got much better. From the TV standpoint, the timing of it, the quick in and out, much better on camera, all that. But I could do better, and I wanted to do better. I really did. And I got better at the end of that, and then at ESPN for the last, 15 years or so, it's been tremendous. The team and leadership and all of the above.
I bet some of the pressure you faced as a player really translated to being able to face the pressure of being on live television. That's not an easy gig.
It's pressure, but it was actually different.
Okay.
See, I didn't have to communicate when I was playing. And you train yourself your whole life to be able to hit a 5-iron in front of all these people on national TV. And that doesn't come easy when you're a rookie either. You see the red light up there, or you look for it. And all these people weren't that big a deal, but you train yourself to do that, and you just block everything else. So now you're in TV, I've got to look right into the camera and speak.
And say the right thing.
Yeah, they're saying the right thing properly.
Sure.
I think I said the right thing all the time, but to say it properly. And I think we've had analysts in all sports that got too critical or weren't critical enough. There's a fine line there. And I try to always remember that you can say the same thing 2 different ways. I can tell you to go jump in a lake the right way or the wrong way. And I try to always do it the right way, knowing they had family and friends at home.
Did you know what it felt like to be there and have
yeah,
the
that's a
attention
big
of the
part of
press
it.
on you?
But see, that's a great point, because that's why you see athletes in TV.
Tony Romo and the like.
Because they've been there. Not only do they know the game, but they also understand the mentality of it and the emotion part of it and the competitive part of it. Where, a guy, you can be the greatest announcer in the world. That's why Mike Tirico is the best in the world, I think. But he can't talk about those things.
That's right.
Can't talk about those things.
Yeah.
So
You've mentioned your wife a number of times, and that's how we come to know you in Eastern North Carolina. She's a New Bern native. For a long time, you had the Shrine Classic in New Bern, about 10 years. Yeah. You were bringing Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan and Arnold Palmer and Fred Couples and Fuzzy Zeller. What was that like, that 10-year run y'all had where y'all raised a lot of money?
We had a great time. It was over drinks one night. We said, we got to do this. We got to do something. And Sarah's father was very much involved, and 2 other guys said, yeah. I said, well, let me tell you something. I'm on the road. I'm not doing a whole lot. I'll get the players. Anyway, the Shriners got involved, and I think it was 11 years we had it. We raised $1.1 million, which averaging $100,000 for a one-day event is absolute grand slam home run. And we had some players come in, friends of mine that came in for nothing. And we had Arnold and, like I said, MJ, and we always had 2 pros and an amateur, the best amateur I could find in the area, college kid most of the time. And we just had a great time, and people had a great time. In the last year, when I told them I don't know that many people to ask them to come in for nothing anymore.
Sure.
You only have but so many close friends. But I said, I got an idea for the last year, and I wouldn't tell them who it was. And I got with Tiger, and he said, sure.
Wow.
That's why we could have sold 25,000 tickets last year.
Oh, yeah.
We kept it at 2,500. And everybody had a ball. He shot 63. He played tremendous. He was tremendous, and I'll always be indebted to him for that. And that was the end of that.
So how do y'all make the way from New Bern to Morehead City?
Well, we were living in Williamsburg, Virginia at the time. The kids grew up there, and the kids were going to college, and we wanted to make a move, just do something different, as long as there's an airport nearby. I'm not so sure this is – qualifies, but it is fun, and I was not traveling all that much anymore. So let's go. Fishing's good down there. Sarah's parents are there. Both have since passed on, so it all worked out, and she was comfortable here, and the kids were moving back to Carolina. They were in Carolina schools, and they were stay here, so it all worked out. I could never have played the tour from here because of the air travel.
Yeah, logistics not
yeah,
right.
it's just it was you're on the road nonstop. So but we're here, we're in Florida half the year now, which I never thought I'd be a snowbird, but it's not too bad. But it's all good, and we come back and dive right into the Big Rock and all the activities around here.
Perfect segue.
I'll say, speaking of
I'm telling you,
you're built for this.
I'm good.
You got a pretty busy week next week coming up here. 66th annual Big Rock. The fish are biting. The Swansboro tournament broke boat records. The Cape Fear tournament did well, and I fully expect there to be another pretty stacked year. Do you do anything special to prepare for Big Rock? I know you.
No, I really, I'm on the board, and if the board makes critical decisions during the year, but the girls run the show down there, from Madison Struck and Carly and all the rest. It's phenomenal the job they do, and I think the board, if they just get out of the way, they'll be just fine. But we're so proud of it, and what it's done in the last 10 or 12 years is truly phenomenal. And obviously you have to thank that if it wasn't for the boats and the owners, you wouldn't have anything. But they come here and they basically fish for their own money, and they want to compete. And forever it was hovered around 100 boats or 125 boats or whatever. And we went through the recession, and we went through COVID. And COVID is when the thing busted out. When we didn't, what year was that now? But we didn't even decide to have the tournament till 6 weeks before. The governor opened us up a little bit.
Yeah, Swansboro was the first major event of that year. Yep.
But we all shut down, though. There was nothing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we didn't know if they'd show up.
And boy, they did.
210, I think, showed up. Yeah. And the purse got big, and they supported us. They couldn't wait. It's like golf. Golf rounds went through the roof. Mm. People wanted to fish, boat. You couldn't buy a boat. You couldn't buy, you couldn't buy anything, a car, a truck. And so it still doesn't make sense to me. But ever since then, the sponsorship has been phenomenal. We are the biggest and best blue marlin fishing tournament in the world. We have the biggest and best women's billfish tournament in the world in the KWALA, and we certainly want the Big Rock kids to continue to grow and be one of those as well, because it's a great amenity's the wrong word, but it's a great addition to what we already had in the 2 tournaments. Now we have 3 of it hits all genders and all ages, and we're just so pleased with what's happened here. And we've given over $10 million to the community now. Over 1.5 the last 2 years each, and it's phenomenal what the people of this community have done to support this.
Yeah, you talked about the purse growing, and in turn, so has the charitable giving. I think
yeah.
I stumbled upon a story in 17 or 18 where it was a good amount, but not like it's been like you said, $1.5 million the last 2 years, and it's really. I've been covering this tournament now. This will be my 11th year.
Okay.
And going from Casey winning that last year at the old way station to building the new Big Rock Landing, and it's only going to keep growing. And
well, we hope, but we don't know where are they going to dock the boats? Where are they going to moor the boats? Seriously, it's a struggle now. We had 271 last year, and I don't know where they're going to put them. But
outboards, I've got to.
Outboards could do it.
That's probably the only way.
But you're so weather,
You brought up 2020
dependent.
Pelagic Hunter 2, John Cruz from Sneads Ferry, first ever, or not first ever,
yes.
but first in a long time outboard winner. So that was a big one for me because I thought it gave a little bit of hope to those folks.
No, and it does. Now he's a first class big fish fisherman.
He is.
But it's hard to believe that we can do so much for the community through a fishing tournament. Everybody having fun. There's a lot of work goes involved. Trust me. But we're always trying to improve. And the Big Rock Landing, like you said, the retail store, which has been a huge success, the online sales of T-shirts and hats and whatever. We have a brand out there that's known throughout the fishing industry around the world. We really do. When Michael Jordan weighed the blue marlin some years ago now, we had emails from Russia, Japan, Australia to use our feed. That'll tell you something. The people listen to the Big Rock Radio and Randy around the world.
Well, and now with the advent of the Starlink offshore,
oh my gosh,
I think we're this close to streaming live fights as they're happening. And I mean,
I hope it happens this year.
Once that happens, I can't. This becomes an ESPN international type.
Well,
of
we get calls all the time about people want to do things, and we're moving slowly because, quite frankly, we don't know what we're doing as far as that's concerned, and we're trying to learn. But Starlink, I hope, happens this year. Yeah, I mean, all you got to do is radio in. We got him on. Boom.
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 It's pretty incredible. I think
really
last year
is.
It was only a couple minutes behind being live.
Yeah.
But you also talk about balancing the line between growing and doing what has kept people coming back. And you talk to anglers who aren't from here. I think of Todd Dickerson off of Top Dog. He will be the first to tell you that he fishes all over DR, White Marlin Open, this and that. That there's a family, small townish type of vibe to Big Rock that doesn't exist in a lot of these tournaments, and it's important to keep that protected as well, right? With the growth,
it's high on our list of priorities.
No doubt,
it really is. It's also because of our philanthropic endeavors. It means a lot to a lot of people.
It does.
It really does. Nothing against the for-profit tournaments, but when you go fish to big, I think that if people ever cut back on fishing tournaments for whatever reason, they're still going to fish the Big Rock because of that.
You can still come win $3 million, and we can still give away $1 million.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great balance.
And we've had good people that win and speak highly of us, and we think a lot about that. We really do. We try to make it better, but where is it's like related to an athlete. Where is the athlete never knows when he's at his best. He's always trying to get better and better. Sometimes you hurt yourself, but we don't want to get in our own way, but we're always trying to improve a little bit.
Where did this desire for philanthropy come from you? You do the Shrine Classic for 11 years. When you first come to Moorhead, you're the Calcutta Wahoo Challenge.
Yeah, we did. I forgot about that. Yeah, we did.
That for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And now you've been on the charity committee with Big Rock. You've been doing charity stuff since like the early 90s. Where did that desire come from to get involved in that?
Well, the Calcutta was to put in seed money for the hospice house, which was built.
Oh, wow.
Right.
And Sarah,
y'all
my
were raising
wife,
a lot of money for that.
So Sarah raised $5 million and get it built. So it's been in existence 10 or 12 years now.
How about that?
So that was a good thing, really good thing, and needed in this community. But when you have the opportunity to help, how do you say no to the kids or to the women or to people that have issues? And we all have issues. But how do you say? And it also was driven in me since day one from the PGA Tour. charity was first. Charity was the number one goal. And we wouldn't exist on tour. The tour wouldn't exist in the form it is today if it wasn't for the charitable donations, much like I'm saying about Big Rock, for the business, for the corporate America to be involved. And, we've given, I don't know, $3 or $4 billion now to the communities around the country from the tour. We give more in a year to charities than other sports combined. So the tour's done a heck of a job in promoting that, and it certainly gets the community behind it. And from the little leagues to the hospice houses to the hospital to it's incredible. It really is good stuff.
I mentioned when we started in Carter County, when we think of Curtis Strange, we really think of two things. We think of U.S. Open and we think of the Big Rock Blue Marlin tournament. Well, unfortunately for Curtis, the two tournaments he's most well known for, they're almost at the same time every year.
Well, they are, and in recent years it has been, and that's why a lot of times I haven't even been here when I was doing the TV. And now this year it's in Pinehurst, so I'm going to be back and forth a bunch because it's so close. I don't have any real responsibilities. We do have the Hall of Fame players dinner and then the ceremony this year on Sunday and Monday night to induct the 4 new inductees. So we'll all go there, and you see, it's great. You see a lot of old friends that you don't see very often anymore, players, and we're just like anybody else. We get together and tell a bunch of lies and old stories, how good we thought we used to be, and then the ceremony the next night, and then of course the U.S. Open is special, so I'll be in and out, but. It's just one of those scheduling things, but I'll be in here in the middle of the week.
Yeah, I think when I talked to you a couple of years ago, and you've been involved with the board for, like I said, about 20-ish years, you said because of the conflict, you've only been able to fish the Big Rock like 3 times.
Oh, wow.
That's all. Wow. When I was fishing.
You should have won another tournament, Curtis.
No. The U.S. Open paid for that fuel. I don't have a big boat anymore. I enjoy the fishing. I enjoy piddling around, and Sarah loves the water and the grandkids and everybody, so it's great. This is like Camp Strange when they come to the beach most every weekend this summer. So it's great here. It's a great community. It's growing. Some people like it, some people don't, but it's got a lot to offer, and it certainly shows at this time of year.
You still have your Jarrett Bay?
No, I don't. I sold the big boat years ago, and I just
that was
piddle
lot
around.
52.
It was a 53. It was the prettiest thing. It was my pride and joy, and Randy and everybody over at Jarrett Bay. They do some good job, don't they? Yeah. And now with Sag Harbor, Jarrett Bay, they're building phenomenal boats, and they're from Beaufort, which is a good thing.
That's right.
Well, when did you fall in love with fishing?
I never fished. I grew up as a gym rat or on the golf course, and then it's interesting. So I immediately became friends with Bill Rogers and Bruce Liskey when I first got on tour in 1976. And they were fishing some weeks on tour. When they finished playing, they go out to the ponds on the golf course. So I said, yeah, let me try that. So we were in the parking lot at 9 o'clock one night of the Howard Johnsons in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and they were teaching me how to throw a bait caster.
Wow.
That's where it started. And I'll never forget it. They put a little weight on the end of it, and I did okay. And so next thing I do, I'm at the golf course the next afternoon catching a couple bass, and that's where it all started.
It's a great de-stressing activity, too, when you're...
Well, it's, some of the tournaments, actually, at Doral every year, they had a big fish contest, got free room and board for the week, just for something to do. And so we're all out there every afternoon out bass fishing all these different lakes at Doral and Miami, and then it moved on to more and more bass fishing and bass boats, and then it moved into coming down to Oregon Inlet and Hatteras a little bit and getting your feet wet and tuna fishing and marlin fishing, and then came down here in the summer because Sarah was from this area, and going offshore a couple of times in a week I would be down here. So it just kind of evolved, and it was something good for me to do when I went home. The same, I could speak for the same for hunting. I come home, what am I going to do? I don't have a business. My business is out there on the road. And so, outdoors, go do something outdoors with friends and, have a beer. And I took it seriously. It wasn't goofing off. You got involved in that kind of stuff and want to be better and better and better. And
that's how you're wired, right?
Well, yeah, it's just exactly.
Do it well.
And get into the boats and mechanical and the fishing and the perfect cast and when you miss the cast, you dumb. But anyway, it was, and it's still like that. It's still like that. So but it's gave me a great escape from the highs and lows of what I did.
Curtis, man, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. It's been a lot of fun. Every time I do these things, you end up reminiscing way too much.
No,
that's
the fun of it.
It's I guess, and it's also, but it's great to talk about this community and again, not to beat it up, but the Big Rock we're all so proud to be a part of it. And even you guys, the week is a big week for everybody in the community, and just thanks to everyone. It's we couldn't do it without them.